Mental illness. In America, it's an enormous problem that is hopefully soon fixed. It's not just a problem here, but a problem across the entire world. The mind is a beautiful, complex thing that is still not completely understood, but one thing is known. No matter how different people are, our minds still work in similar ways. And mental conditions are one of the greatest factors to how our minds work. So when it comes to unhealthy mental conditions, it should be taken seriously, which is not happening in the US, along with several other nations. In the United States, the problem of bad mental conditions is extremely bad, even more so when compared to other countries. It is all shown in the numbers and data conducted by different American and global organizations, and these numbers do not lie. A survey conducted by the CDC in 2019 showed that up to 11.2% of adults in America were reported to have anxiety and 4.7% to have depression. To put this into a better perspective, that's a total of up to 53 million US citizens, and this doesn't even account for teens or the people who deny mental illness, even if they have it, which is quite common within American culture. Then, to make the percentages even worse, it was reported by the same study that there was a 5.1% increase in mental illnesses due to the recent COVID-19 pandemic. It was a hard-hitting pandemic that actually affected us so much worse than other countries, all due to our government failing us. Now, let's compare it to the other countries. Take a good look at this photo. Notice how some countries are a darker red than others. The darker it is, the more prevalent mental illness is, proportion to the population, of course. This data was taken in 2019 by the Global Burden of Disease. Let's take a look at America. This is one that is darker red. It's got 16.93% of people with mental illness within the population. We can compare this to Australia, which had the highest rate. It had a 19.35% of their population. Quite closer to that than what Vietnam had, at a 9.52%, which is the lowest. Another survey conducted by the Nigerian Public Health website showed another comparison between 26 countries. Similar results as the previous data showed that there were Asian countries lower on the list, like Shanghai. Then there were the higher ones on the list, which were of course America and Australia, as we saw in the past map. Not one, but two sets of data provided that America is quite high on the list, and I'm sure that there are many more to prove it. As we are still progressing to completely understand mental illness, we do know that there are three main reasons as to what could cause it. According to an article on WebMD by Ms. Bandari, there are psychological factors that can cause mental illness. These root in different traumas. This could go from losing important people in your life to different forms of neglect. Then there's environmental, which means different areas can have a negative impact on your mind, or even the people around you as well. Finally, there's genetic, which we do not need to get into since it is a worldwide thing, unlike the other two. Within the US, bad psychological and environmental factors are common, which can be used to explain why mental illnesses are so prevalent here. Although we are a first world country, our government is failing us. They seem to neglect the priorities needed for American citizens. Taking care of mental conditions is just one of the many things they are not taking seriously. In a survey done by the National Institute of Mental Health, it was shown that only 46% of adults with mental illnesses were able to get the help they needed. The rest are either not able to afford something like that, or simply don't think it's worth it, since our government officials do not push it the same way they push for physical health. Of course, there will always be people who believe that there is absolutely nothing wrong with America, and that all these studies are just wrong. And sure, there could be flaws like the fact that in some foreign countries, people do not like to admit that they live with some sort of mental condition. That does not change the fact that we still have a high percentage, and it is partly America's fault for the faulty government that we have. All in all, America must be improved in several subjects, and mental conditions of the citizens is most definitely one of them. Our minds and lives are too valuable to lose just because higher-ups do not want to do their jobs correctly.